Hey everybody, and welcome to a Tatter-a-fact here at the Girls Inc. studio in Las Vegas. Today we got a really cool guest. We've been colleagues for a long time. She's super fun to talk to. She knows a lot about a lot. Most of you know her. If you don't, you're about to. Rose Prieto.
Hey.
Hi.
Karen, thanks
How
for
you doing?
having me. I'm
Yes.
doing great.
Yes. All the way from Florida.
All the way from Miami, Florida.
I know, out to Vegas. Yeah.
I love Vegas.
Do you love Vegas?
I do.
Not everybody loves Vegas.
I love Vegas this time of year, especially. Nice and cool outside.
Nice and cool outside. And we have Samson with us today.
Aw.
He's in my lap and he's misbehaving a little bit. He wanted to be in here with us today. So hopefully he, minds his P's and Q's, huh, bud? All right. So you're out here. First, let's kind of get this out of the way. You're out here because you're filming a new course.
Here at Girls Inc.
Yes, that's going to go on the Girls Inc. Academy. So we're really excited about that. So we did a bunch of model, and it's really brow shaping and tinting.
Temporary tinting.
Tinting, which I think is going to be a fantastic course for those that are estheticians and only do aesthetic work, right? And for PMU artists that also do aesthetic work, because I think a large percentage of PMU artists are licensed and do aesthetic works. So it's a great add-on. Or if you are a PMU artist and maybe you want to include an add-on service, you're looking different ways to,
or if you have a staff that offers other services, like brow lamination or whatever.
It's a great add-on. And your course is a little bit different. One of our models even had kind of old faded PMU. So we filmed you mapping, shaping, tweezing, and tinting 3 different models yesterday. So long day.
Yeah.
Were you exhausted?
Fun day. No, fun day. I love it.
It's fun.
When you could do something all day long for free, you love. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. So your course is probably launching, I would say, probably in 4 to 8 weeks, just depending on how long the editing takes and how much more content you feel you need to add to it to make it a really amazing course. So we're really excited about that. We'll let our viewers know when that launches. So I'm really excited, and I think it's going to be a great addition to the lineup on the Academy.
Yeah, and what makes it a little different, I think, is that number one, there's not a lot of courses like that on the market, and number two, I'm a permanent makeup artist as well, but I was a brow shaping artist first. So we created this course from the permanent makeup perspective, but it also appeals to the non-PMU artists. So I think it's, really broad and, it'll resonate not only with the PMU artist, but just with the esthetician or cosmetologist as well.
Yeah. You know what? Well, when we were filming yesterday, I realized that even if a PMU artist doesn't necessarily want to get into aesthetics or brow tinting or anything like that, just what you talk about, demonstrate, and show on that course with brow shaping and tweezing, what to tweeze, what not to tweeze, how to trim long brow hair, what to do, what not to do. I think that alone is going to be really valuable to the PMU artist, because that is a part of our daily work 100%. And our daily duties when we're tattooing. I mean,
and these are questions I get all the time from my colleagues.
Yeah.
They just don't know how to shape a brow, yet they're tattooing brows every day.
Yeah. And we have to shape and tweeze and trim a lot of times before we actually do the tattooing to get that brow in the best shape possible for the tattooing.
Let's not also, it shouldn't be lost on any of the artists that not everyone is a candidate for permanent makeup, or not everybody wants to lean into that space. They're scared. They don't want to commit to that permanent, solution to their brow problem. They have sparse brows. So the temporary tinting is a great sort of way to sort of get training wheels and get that wake up with makeup feel, but it'll only last about a week or, or two.
Exactly. Well, we had Olivia, sister, in yesterday, and I thought she was a great model. Right. And Olivia said, she's nervous to get her permanent makeup, blah, blah, blah. So clients like her, exactly. She was,
We see that all the
she
time.
would never probably get her permanent makeup. Right, Olivia?
Yeah.
Like we could not have convinced her to come lay down and get her eyebrows tattooed. No
Nope.
way.
No.
But then you did her brow shaping. You tinted her brows,
Yep.
which gave her a fuller, more prominent look to her brow.
Right. A stain that looked
right.
beautiful on her. Yeah.
And she ended up loving it. She did, right?
She did.
So to your point, that's a great example of like a possible client that may not choose PMU because they're afraid it's going to heal too dark.
Right.
They're afraid they don't want it long term. But then they see what it can look like with a tint. They get to live with that for 3 to 5 days, and they end up loving it. So now they're ready to commit to the permanent makeup process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes, these clients come every 4 to 6 weeks, and that may be all they want. They may be fine with that, and that's great. But you need to think of, and a lot of clients, or rather a lot of artists I've found, they don't think of that lifetime value of the customer, because that customer can eventually lead into a permanent makeup client, or they can refer others to your permanent makeup service because they see your professionalism,
Right.
they see how amazing of an artist you are, and so.
Yeah. No, I lots and lots and lots of benefits.
Yeah, 100%.
Offering this service.
Right, because it's not a high ticket item.
No.
It's 50 to 100 depending on what area you live in.
Right.
But again, it's that lifetime value of the customer. What will that one brow shaping client lead to? Right, could lead to a permanent makeup client. It could lead to referrals.
And if it didn't lead to a permanent makeup client, there's a possibility it would lead to a brow shaping and tinting client. Like they may come back regularly to get their brow shaping, brow tinting done.
And then that could lead to sales, because if you offer brow shaping and tinting, you should definitely offer retail for sale, which increases that revenue per hour. So
right.
brow pencils and brow gels and tweezers,
Yeah.
and which. So it's a great business. It's
Yeah.
a great. I mean, this is how I've built my business over 20 years before I even started permanent makeup. I've been a PMU artist for 15 years. I've been doing brow shaping, and so this is eyebrows. We all know, right, as PMU artists, that brows are the quintessential pillars of the face. So
yeah, and there's a lot of people making a fantastic living off brows alone. Everything brow.
sure,
You know,
absolutely.
just brows,
Yeah,
like
100%.
tattooing them, brow shaping, tinting, henna, lamination.
yeah.
Because brows are, it's what
know.
frames the face. Yeah, everybody's focused on brows,
Yeah.
and so no, I think it's a fantastic course. We were really happy with the filming yesterday and the content and how everything came out. So I'm excited to get all that together and get this course offered to people.
Yeah,
so,
I'm excited too.
Yeah. So okay, so let's talk about a few things. So I do follow you, and I see a lot of your posts. So you're super smart, and you know a lot about a lot, right? And you're opinionated.
Well, I only know that I know nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm forever learning, and I just want to formally announce that you are my number one. Like, you are such a mentor of mine. You know this.
Oh,
for
thank
years
you.
I've consulted with you, and
Yeah.
when you didn't even know who I was, and you would answer my messenger posts like immediately, just, Taryn, please, you don't know me, but can you answer this question? And so I've learned so much from goats like you, greatest of all time folks like you. So
I appreciate that, but it's, and you're paying it forward. I really believe, when you elevate the artist, you
Agreed.
elevate the industry. So if you love this industry in the manner that I do and so many other people do, then it comes natural. By nature, you want to educate, support, and elevate the artist.
100%.
That comes really
Yes.
natural for me. I enjoy doing it. I know you do too. There's lots of people that do. So, and thank goodness, because that's what it takes to elevate an industry, right?
100%. Yep.
So, and you're opinionated, which I love. You're outspoken.
A little bit.
Yeah, you are. You're outspoken. I am too, Rose. I have really strong opinions and convictions. And sometimes I curtail them,
I'm working on that.
Well, no, but you do deliver it gracefully. I think there's a way to deliver really strong opinions and convictions where it's graceful, it's ethical, you're walking the high road, you're not offending anybody, although There are people that will still be highly offended and want to try to make you look bad for your personal opinions. But anybody that follows you knows that you have these strong opinions. You like to voice them. You voice them in a really ethical, graceful, respectful manner. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I think
you do it really beautifully.
Thank you so much.
No, you honest to God, you really do. And not a lot of people do. I think there's a lot of people that want to, but they're afraid to. They're afraid they're going to get canceled. They're afraid they're going to get, into trouble. And there's a lot of people that stay quiet and that have really important messages, like you. And then, of course, there's people that have really strong opinions and convictions, but, don't do it so gracefully. They do it from a place of anger, or they're going to try to bully you into agreeing with them. So there's that side as well.
I know a few of those.
Yeah, I think we all do, so, but I just wanted to say that kind of out loud that I think a lot of people really do appreciate that about you.
Yeah, I really thank you for saying that. And it's just, again, like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. And if that means speaking it loudly and making a few, not everyone's going to agree with you and like you, but it's okay. You need to be okay with that.
Yeah. And I think debating is healthy as long as both sides of the debate, stay respectful of each other's opinions
100%.
and standpoints. And a lot of times that gets lost. And I think speaking out creates conversation when there's respectful dialogue on both sides, both opinions. I think that it just educates. It moves people forward. It moves the industry forward. And I think that's what's missing, not just in the industry, but in the world. Right now is it's just so, it's almost impossible to have a conversation with someone who believes, has very different philosophies or doesn't agree with you without argument, without, some disrespect happening. And I really hate that for the industry. I hate that for the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wish more conversations would happen.
Yeah.
Where,
I agree. And it's about, you said the word earlier, education. And there's so many new artists. This industry has grown so much and it's amazing and it's great to be a part of it, right? But let's grow and evolve in the right way, right? Let's learn the right things, because there is a wrong way to learn things. And so, that's the change that I know you're trying to make as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because I don't agree with, there's a lot of people that I really care about, and I mad respect that I don't necessarily agree with some of the things that they're teaching or some of their philosophies. That doesn't mean I have no respect for you. That doesn't mean I don't like you. That doesn't mean
there's a difference.
Yeah. There's a huge difference. I think in PMU, there's lots of different avenues to a really beautiful result. There's lots of different wonderful ways, safe ways to get to an end result. And we're all trying to get to a beautiful result safely. Maybe the one topic, maybe there's another one, but the one I can think of where there's no gray area, it's black or white, is like cross-contamination, bloodborne pathogens. Like that's the one area
completely
where
black and white.
Like there's no debate.
Yeah, no.
There's no gray.
Right.
Right. It's like this, and this. Or you're wrong.
Right.
You're putting people, at risk.
Yeah.
But just about everything else, color theory, movements, technique, pigments, needle choices, just about every design, everything everything else we do in PMU, just about, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is at artist discretion, there's just so many different ways. There's not really a right or wrong. Right?
There's so many nuances, 100%. Yeah. But it's just, and that circling back again to that word education, I think there is wrong when you're not familiar with your canvas, and getting back to really understanding the entire picture, because I think that a lot of younger artists in particular get seduced with these sexy training and sexy trainers and the latest and greatest, technique or, fancy machine.
Or trends. Sometimes
Definitely
they're not
trends.
even techniques that should even
Right.
be in the industry.
100%
You know.
trends. And and so I don't even want to name any right now, but get into that conversation. And so, it's about having mentors and educators that are sort of can steer you in the right direction. And it's
Right.
okay to sort of consume that information and to sort of pay attention to it, but understand that that's not, what we should be doing. We should be focusing on other things to really master the art of what we're doing.
Yeah, 100%. I think Carla from Sculpted Studios.
Love Carla.
Yeah. we're going to collab on a course on the trends.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what trends. Talk about what trends are great trends,
Yep.
great for the industry, can be great for some clients, and so grateful they were introduced and should be a part of PMU. And then what trends, how the hell did this become a trend?
Right.
And probably should not be a part of PMU,
Right.
should really be looked at.
Can I name one?
You could, yeah, of
Like
course.
under eye camo, for example?
Exactly. Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
white eyeliner?
Like
we
white
see it in Miami all the
yes.
time. Come to
Yeah.
Miami and the white eyeliner capital of the world.
Yeah. So, some of that stuff,
Yeah.
tattooing eyeshadow,
Yep.
tattooing cheek
Yeah.
blush,
Cheek blush, oh gosh.
foundation, some of the stuff. And some
Yeah.
of the stuff was all done, back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And by some very talented artists that knew their shit and were privy to how they aged and what happened to tattooed, when you tattoo eyeshadow, when you tattoo cheek blush, when you put camo
Titanium under the eyes. Yeah.
under the eyes, or exactly.
Right.
So those are some of the things that we're going to discuss
Because
so,
they were not educated on the skin canvas.
right.
Yeah,
So so you think you have a really strong opinion that every single artist coming into PMU should first and foremost understand the canvas, which is the
100%.
skin,
Yep.
facial skin.
That's it. The skin, which
Right.
is everybody has the same skin. It's skin, right? It's every artist works in the same canvas, regardless of fits type, ethnicity. It's skin,
Right.
and it's a living thing.
Living, breathing
It's
thing.
not a piece of paper, right? That where if I had some colored pencils and we can mix red and blue and we can make purple,
Right.
And that it'll stay that way for 20 years on that white piece of paper. That's not the same, the same theory doesn't apply for skin. And so why? I love talking about the why. You need to understand why. Why doesn't it stay purple, in the skin, or just to use that as an
Right.
example.
Right.
And so there's so many eccentricities about the skin that the artist is just not educated with, because particularly circling back to new artists, they want to train with these latest and greatest techniques and use, ombre brows, and that's all great. Gosh, these are end results that the consumer wants. They want an ombre brow. They want,
Some.
well, yeah. I mean, there's a
A
market.
lot don't.
Well,
a lot don't.
Or they want whatever it is, the technique
Yeah.
that they're wanting to learn. Absolutely, learn every technique you can, but first know the skin you're working in, because it's not a one size fits all process, right? And so you really need to understand what protocol is in, what your plan of action is going to be for that client in front of you, based on their very unique canvas. Even if they're sisters, it doesn't matter. One can have an underlying medical condition, the other could have some kind of a skin condition that will sort of, tweak your process a little bit.
Right. I understand. I think like with the whole ombre brow and the structured brow, I think what a lot of young artists, we get a lot of emails on this. We get a lot of phone calls on this. The young artists are taught to do that highly structured brow, with mapping string, really squared
The
off.
Instagram brow, I call it.
The Instagram
Yeah.
brow, which looks really beautiful on certain
A 21-year-old
certain
fits
clients
too. Yeah.
Right. That is not an eyebrow for the mature woman.
Right.
And so a lot of these young artists, they do not know how to freehand a brow. All they know is that highly structured brow, the straight bridge,
Right.
that particular
Yep.
art that, we call it like the structured brow. You call it the Instagram brow. But, there's a high percentage of clients that not only do they would not look good in that brow.
Right.
Doesn't suit them.
Agree.
They don't want that. I
Right.
mean, we actually have clients, coming in that request,
Not
I don't
to have that.
not to
Yes,
have that.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to customize a shape for every single client, for their age group, their vibe, the way they dress, the way they, and what they
Right.
want. You have to be able to freehand.
Right. It's about maintaining the integrity of the person in front of you.
Yeah. So, so that's why I think it's really important to, not that it's not okay to use mapping string and rulers and do a structured brow. It's way okay to
There's
do
a
that.
place for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a face and a place for that for sure. But, I would also encourage young artists to, keep practicing and get comfortable freehanding.
Right.
When we do body tattooing, we use stencils, right? Absolutely. We outline a design, we make a carbon stencil, we stick the stencil on a body and we trace it, and so that's, I'm equating that to the mapping and creating a stencil for brow. So, but in body tattooing, we also have to be able to draw. Because what if you lose that stencil during the tattooing process?
Which I'm sure happens. I don't body tattoo. Yeah.
Or what if a client comes in and wants a custom design to represent, someone in their life that, passed away, or, something like that. So, and I think that's important also in PMU, that the young artist, besides learning and understanding how to map with a string, mark and design, because I do think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also think it's important that they also keep practicing freehanding lots of different faces. Just grab a pencil and you can make your marks and dots, but lose the string. Don't put all the marks with a string, but make some dots.
It's true.
Connect the dots,
right.
And just really practice on your freehanding skills, and developing that ability to do that in your artist eye for symmetry. I think that empowers an artist to be able to do that along with mapping strings and rulers.
I think the artist fails, in my opinion, and it's funny because yesterday we were filming and I don't map like traditionally. I just can see your face and know where your eyebrow should be based on your facial anatomy, right? It's not one size fits all. It's unique to the bearer's face. And so it just occurred to me at the last minute with one of the models is, oh gosh, I should show the viewer, sort of quote unquote, how to map very quickly without the string and all those things. And I did it really crudely, painting it, like writing numbers on her face with the pencil, because I realized that, gosh, not every artist has that eye.
Yeah.
That not every artist is taught to sort of learn the particular brow garden for the person's face based on their brow, structure. I consider brows like a garden. There's weeds in the garden, there's flowers in the garden. No garden in nature is perfect, right? This is why we're PMU artists, because we implant flowers that are missing, if you will, right?
Yeah.
As brow shaping artists, we remove the weeds from the garden and we'll fill in those gaps with pencil or tint. But you have to understand the boundaries of those gardens based on the face in front of you. And that's what's missing, I think, in terms of education.
Yeah, for sure. My artists that come in here and work here at Girls Inc., we, a lot of them map, with the strings or the rulers, however, which way they do it to get to a beautiful result.
Yeah.
But I do drawing exercises. To develop their artist's eye and their freehand skills, because it just tends to make them a better brow artist.
Yeah, that's too advanced for me. It's too I need a master's degree. It's like I don't get the string. It doesn't work for me. And if that works for you, then great.
Yeah.
Like if that's going to work for you, then amazing.
But I don't think I agree with you.
Yeah.
But to
yes,
100% just to rely.
Right. I don't agree to just rely. I agree. Yeah, 100%. You need to know the face.
Because you're going to get faces in there where that type of mapping and structure brow just doesn't suit the face. It looks awkward and it just doesn't belong. That shape doesn't belong on
It's not cookie
on that
cutter. It's not a cookie
face.
cutter process.
Right. So, and you like to talk about like common skin conditions that the artists should know about. And that's why it's so important for the young artists to study skin and learn what may or may not be contradictive to PMU.
Correct.
And that doesn't mean just because someone has some skin conditions going on, that does not necessarily make them not a good PMU candidate.
Right.
But maybe there's something that they have to address before and get cleared up, or just address beforehand, either on their own or with a doctor, before we move them into PMU.
Yeah.
And then maybe some things we can, we can work on them with whatever's
everybody deserves
going
to have
on.
beautiful brows, regardless of, a condition, right?
Right.
And so if it's something, now we're not doctors, right? Unless you're a doctor, we don't diagnose. But this is why I don't feel like every PMU artist should go out and become an esthetician if they're not already one. There are many PMU artists that are estheticians and cosmetologists. But if you're not, at the very least, train, learn about the common skin conditions that are, like I said, common, like acne, like sebaceous hyperplasia, like, actinic keratosis. There's just, a handful, maybe 10.
Right.
And actually, that's what my second book is about. It's called In the Skin. It's about educating the PMU artist about the skin canvas in front of them. And it's not about becoming an esthetician. It's about learning about the canvas. For example, because I hang out on a lot of those Facebook groups, right? A lot of the PMU groups, and you really learn. I love to kind of give back and empower other artists. And I see so many artists like turning away clients because they have, something. And I say, gosh, I'm not diagnosing, but it looks like, seborrheic dermatitis or something that is just common, that a simple visit to their dermatologist can cure. And these are chronic conditions that can be managed but are not contraindications to PMU.
Right.
So again, let's not deny the client a beautiful brow just because they have a flare up and they may not be aware. The flaky brow I see, so that's so common.
Right.
And so that's it's just like basically dandruff. It's fungal related, and their dermatologist may prescribe Neutrogena T-gel that's used for dandruff over the counter. But again, we don't diagnose. We just give our professional recommendation. But I see that all the time. And so many times, PMU artists will turn these folks away, and that's not fair. Everybody deserves beautiful brows.
Yeah. I think it's knowing when to, when to be able to identify something going on with the skin.
Yeah.
And when we can work on them in that moment and safely and still get them to a beautiful result, and then knowing when to not work on them in that moment and advise them to go see a doctor.
Right.
But then this brings up a whole new subject, Rose. What about, so let's say someone comes in and, there's something icy going on the skin, and it could be a raised something. It could be just something that's making me a little nervous, a little uncomfortable. Maybe I don't really know what it is. Some things I recognize as well. I know exactly what it is. And maybe it's just going to be some moisturizing, something simple with a dermatologist, something that does not require a doctor's note, just something that we got to kind of get better managed before, and quite easy. But what if there is something we don't really know what that is, and it's making us very uncomfortable, and we want to keep the client safe, and we want them to go talk to their doctor. This is a topic that I see a lot. Should we require them to come back with a doctor's note? And does that doctor's note protect the PMU artist? Because a lot of doctors now are declining to write a note because they don't want the liability. They don't want, doctors don't want to sign a client off and say, yeah, you can go get your permanent makeup. And then, God forbid, something happens.
Right.
They get an infection or something. Not too much bad happens with PMU.
Right.
What's our worst case scenario? Infection. But it's not like
nothing we can't fix.
Nothing we can't fix. Nothing that can't clear up with maybe even an antibiotic. So we're kind of, especially when it comes to the brows. I think eyeliner is a whole different subject because we're dealing with eyeballs and sight and all that. But brows, we can always kind of come back from something that's gone sideways, right?
100%.
But with that said, there's a lot of doctors out there nowadays that will not sign a client off. They will not write a note. So have you encountered that? And then what advice would you give to a PMU artist that's kind of in that situation? Client calls back, says, you know what, my doctor won't write a note, so will you still work on me?
Yeah. We live in a litigious society, no doubt. So I can see the doctor's perspective and that what their concern is. They don't want to get sued ultimately. But, you just kind of answered your the first question when you were talking about, gosh, I see something, I don't feel comfortable with it. I see that this is not, anything that's, life-threatening maybe, but it just doesn't feel right. Then pause right there and talk to the client about it. But before that, rewind a little. We all should have ironclad paperwork. The paperwork should be ironclad, and we should have like addendums and clauses. And at the very least, let's say a client comes to me, and no, I don't deal with that often, by the way. But if it did happen, and if I was not comfortable with it, I do deal with it more as an electrologist, because I'm an electrologist and I see a lot of underlying hormonal conditions, never diagnosed, but my trained eye, gosh, it looks like this may be PCOS, which is something that's a very common hormonal condition. But I will not treat the client with electrolysis unless they come back with a doctor's note or something proving that they're receiving treatment. And treatment could just be, I don't know, spironolactone or a birth control pill, nothing major. But my treatment won't be efficacious. Like, it won't work unless they're getting treated for their condition. So then it falls on me. Gosh, Rose sucks as an electrologist, but no, it's because you're not treating your underlying condition. So I would treat PMU the same way. Is, gosh, this is something that needs to be seen by a doctor. If they don't want to give you a note, fine, but just go see them, diagnose the condition or whatever it is. If they can at least give you a note stating what that condition is, they're not giving you a green light or anything. They're just saying, yes, this is, sebaceous hyperplasia, whatever it is, acne, cystic acne, whatever it is. And then, then we can go from there. The artist should have a general understanding of the skin. And at that point, if the artist chooses, follow your intuition. We don't have to work on any client we don't want to. But if the client is, gosh, please, I need beautiful brows. I want you. I trust you. I'll sign whatever. Make sure your paperwork is ironclad. Perhaps, have them sign an addendum or something. Consult with your insurance company if you're concerned about that, and say, gosh, will this hold water in the case of any, but again, nothing's going to happen. In a heartbeat, I would do it. But I would proceed really slowly with caution, maybe diluting the pigment, whatever that means. What does proceeding with caution means? It depends on the situation in front of me. But I wouldn't jump in the deep end with that procedure. I would just, go in very lightly, and then we could revisit anything in the future touch up.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think most clients, if not all, right, they don't want to do anything unsafe for themselves either. Right. And so, and most of them will have a conversation with their doctor if you tell them, look, I'm a little concerned about this. I'd like you to talk to your doctor. They'll at least have a conversation with their doctor. I've had so many clients that have. And I've had a handful of doctors not write them a note. So the client, came back in. My doctor won't write me a note due to liability reasons, but this is the conversation. This is what they told me it was. I got on this medication. And then I'll say, okay, let's do a little addendum. About, and on the addendum, the name of the client, the date, we write a little thing that they had, what I advised them of. They did talk to their doctor, the conversation between them and their doctor, and they've decided on their own, to move forward. And so, it's just like you said, dotting all your I's, crossing all your T's, and following your gut. If there was something I'm like, what, I am just not like a blood disorder. I mean, something.
Or I have, I don't know, a transplant. I'm on anti-rejection medication.
It's something really
like,
medical. You're talking, something really medical.
Chemo, cancer. I mean, I will not, unless I definitely for sure,
there's some things
black
you
and
just
white.
don't.
I need a note before I proceed. You have chemo, your immune system is compromised. They have diabetes. Their healing may be compromised. So there are certain things that we definitely do need a note for.
No, I understand. But I'm like you. I see a lot of, someone will post, a picture of a client and say, she has this, and this. Should I work on them? And a lot of people, no, I wouldn't work on her. I wouldn't work on her.
I see that all the time.
And I'm sitting there going, I would totally work on her.
Me too. Totally. Exactly.
So, but I think it's the society you live in. Like you said, we're in a litigious, it's either the, I think as young artists, you're scared. You're nervous. You don't want to
get that.
We have a lot of responsibility, and it's like, it's kind of like, I think PMU artists are in the same situation as doctors. Doctors, take that oath, I will do no harm. Same with PMU artists. I think we all
should have an oath.
And I think most of us do.
Yeah.
Most are good people.
Innately,
most people
in our
the world
mission
are
statements,
good people. Yeah. And so we have this desire to do no harm.
Yeah,
And we're protective that way. We want to protect the client.
I think as long as we tell the client, listen, I have your best interest at heart. I can charge you $2,000 right now, whatever it is, but I care more about you than your business. Of course, I want your business. I have a business. I'm in business to make money. But at the end of the day, as long as they know that we have their best interests at heart, they will 100% appreciate it. I've never come across someone that has not, because I'm in South Florida where it's the Wild West for tattooing. People are doing procedures in their kitchen and BBL butt lifts in their basement. It's like all the things. And so I see a lot of, purple brows. Just today, I showed you a text that I got just today from a client that was referred by a doctor I work with, which is a great thing to do. Any artist listening right now that doesn't have a relationship with various doctors in your area, not only dermatologists, but endocrinologists, plastic surgeons, particularly laser removal, because in the state of Florida, you need to be a doctor to conduct laser pigment removal. And so sometimes, implants are so deep, it's beyond the boundaries of, wanting to use, a removal method like lift. Sometimes like today, I'm like, gosh, I'm not even going to tackle that for saline removal. I just need to refer her to this doctor that I work with. And she wants an immediate result because she doesn't like her purple brows. But I see that it's like a Sharpie.
But there is no
It's like 30 years
result.
of permanent makeup like packed in there.
Yeah.
And, again, I tell her straight up, or clients like her, because I see them all the time, is I want you to have a lifetime of beautiful brows.
Yeah.
I don't want to put a Band-Aid on your brows. A color correction, okay, yeah, it'll be fine for a few months.
Yeah.
And so they appreciate that at the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
And I'm losing out. I may not make money off her, but it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's no quick result, whether it's laser, whether it's saline.
Right.
The quickest result is a color correction.
Yeah.
That's what gets us to.
And that works many times. It depends on the brow.
And I'll tell you what, I do removal.
Yeah,
that.
of
I
course.
learned it
Yeah.
20 years ago from Mary Jane Hockey, Marjorie Grimm. So I've been doing it for years and years and years and years. But I also am really good at shifting, gray, purple, green, red, orange brows back to brown. I'm very good at it. I'm very efficient. And I think there is a little bit, I see a lot of this on the boards too. Like that picture you showed me, I would color correct that in a heartbeat.
I was just going to say, okay, I'll send her here.
Dollars to donuts. There's a 90% chance she'd never see that gray again ever.
We'll talk off.
Yeah. So I see a lot of removal, should I color correct or removal?
Yeah.
Color correct or removal. And so many people are pushing removal, whether it's laser or saline. And I'll look at it, I'll go, man, that's easily could be color corrected. And you probably won't see that old gray or the old purple again. There's a really good chance you won't. There's a chance you will in a couple of years. And then in a couple of years, you'll have to go, maybe a pass, with some warmth again, or with yellow, and then, target color again. But in my own work, in a lot of people's work that do both color correction and removal, a lot of us see long-term amazing results with just color correction. But there is a line.
Yeah,
there's a
100%.
line where you can kind of, where you have to know, okay, that's beyond color shifting. That's beyond color shifting. That is probably going to come back in less than a year. And now you're looking at having to redo a whole corrective process every single year or less. And that's not a good situation to put a client in.
Yeah.
So you do have to kind of weigh that. But
see, I need to consult with you on that.
Yeah.
Again, I only know that I know nothing.
Yeah.
So
well, I look at saturation levels, and then I look for different things like shininess to the skin, saturation levels.
Right.
I look for certain things that are going to give me indicators whether I should put that client into a corrective using modifiers. And it's going to be, 80% chance it's going to be long-term successful. Then I go for it. And then, or with those indicators, is this client going to be better off in doing some removal sessions, because that is that client's best option for long-term results. I'm always about the long-term results.
Me too. Yeah.
And I'm really, so we have both correction methods using modifiers, and we have saline removal
Yep.
that are at the PMU artists, beck and call. We can do both. And then we have laser
Yep.
if you're a PMU artist that doesn't prefer saline or doesn't perform saline.
Yeah. This is why I think every PMU artist should be trained in saline removal.
Yeah, because we can control it. Because sometimes you don't even have
We
to
can never
remove
make a mistake.
all of the brow. Maybe you just have to pull out 50% of the color
Yes.
to create new space.
Or even as we're working, if we did a little stroke or something, oh gosh,
Yeah.
we could immediately remove it. It's so
Yes.
empowering.
Yeah, it's really empowering. It is really, really empowering.
Which is a whole other conversation.
Yeah, and especially for the corrective process for the clients, because sometimes I think maybe laser clinics or laser doctors, they might put them through more sessions than needed. If we're doing the saline, we really monitor that. We know how much can be removed and how much pigment can be remaining. And when it's time, okay, now
Right.
there's enough.
Right.
We've removed enough
Right.
pigment.
Right.
There's enough space in that skin now where
Yep.
we can start adding new pigment. And most likely you're going to have long-term results. We're going to get you back to that brown eyebrow with long-term results.
Yeah.
And I'll never have to color correct again. So, yeah. So I think that's a really great, I love talking about that.
And to that point, and like I'm using I love my Tatter-a-fact mug, by the way. I love it. But this is the analogy that I use for eyebrows all the time that I give to clients because they don't realize they come with these saturated eyebrows. Eyebrows are like a glass of water. There's only so much water that will fill into this glass, right? So it's particularly Miami, Wild West, 30 years of PMU, their glass is nearly full. Let's say it's 75% full.
Yeah.
I can add 25% more of the best quality pigments, amazing techniques, high quality needles, all my certificates on my wall, but it's still going to be upstaged by that 75% crap that's in there.
That's still in the skin.
So I need to pour out as much of that dirty water, if
Yeah,
you will,
right.
so that I can, work on as clean a canvas as I can. There's a finite amount of space that'll fit on the brow.
Right.
A lot of new artists don't realize that.
No, a lot of new artists don't realize that. And I think that's why on, many skin types, I think it's really important that the pigment being used is pigment that will fade out of the skin. In a couple of
yeah.
years, you have organics versus, inorganics.
Yep.
And there's, certain skin types. Like I would never, and we have both. LI, we make, we have aqua, which is,
Yep.
an inorganic mineral pigment. And we have loaded, which is a super strong, very long lasting,
Very concentrated.
very
yeah.
concentrated, long lasting pigment. And, on someone that's really super ruddy, highly pink, sun damage, on those skin types where that skin type alone is at such a high propensity pulling gray.
Yep.
They're going to pull gray
Right.
and heal pigment gray.
Right.
I would never use a long lasting pigment on them, or I would never use an organic because organics alone, if an organic is going to shift color over time, it doesn't always, but if it's going to shift to the blues and grays. That's what organics tend to shift to,
Which are cool.
Right. Blue or gray.
Right.
And typically it's because of the carbon base. So, but like I said, I have a pair of dark eyebrows on my wife and they're 6 years old and they've never shifted colors. So it is a myth. It's not accurate to say that all organics are going to shift to blue and green. That's inaccurate. It's not accurate to say all iron oxides or inorganics are going to shift to orange or red. That's inaccurate.
Yeah.
It's not accurate. But if an organic is going to shift on skin, it's going to shift to the cool side, the blues and grays. And if an inorganic is going to shift, it a lot of times, not always, it may shift to the warmer tones, but inorganics can certainly shift to the grays
Yeah,
if you're
absolutely.
using a super dark color
Yeah.
with, So on skin that pulls gray,
Yep.
I'm not going to use a line or a type of pigment
Right.
that has the propensity to shift to gray.
Right.
'Cause
Which,
right?
circling back to understanding your skin canvas.
Exactly.
Because you and I were talking about this earlier when you were showing me something you were working on. Ruddy skin, red skin, it's red. let's say if it's too ruddy skin, oh gosh, she's warm because she has pink and red skin, and the color pink and red are warm, right? You think of
warm.
fire, and that is the coolest. I mean, she is going to heal
gray,
completely ashy, right?
Yeah.
And so again, the artist really needs to understand the canvas.
Really needs to understand the canvas, and I think it's really important that artists understand and work with both iron oxides, inorganic pigments, and organics. Have both in your toolbox and know when to use each one. Both types of pigments are invaluable to the artist.
100%.
Invaluable to the industry. And so many artists are only using one or the other because of some of the misinformation put out there.
Right. And again, it's this is advanced stuff, by the way. This is like, advanced
Is it advanced?
learning. It is. I still haven't mastered. In fact, the first time I reached out to you was years ago. I was guest on Dr. Radio.
Yeah,
right?
I remember
right?
that.
Dr. Doris Day shows, Sirius XM 110. And I was so paranoid. I'm like, what if somebody calls in a caller? I was a PMU expert on the show. What if somebody calls in about organics and inorganics? It's so like, there's so much to know. And I'm like, Taryn, you don't know me, but please, you wrote this dissertation. I still have it. I need to look it up.
Oh God, I can't imagine
everything that you talked about now and more. It was like a mini one-on-one lesson. You didn't even know who I was. And I felt so empowered now knowing, if a caller, and of course nobody's going to call saying, hi, what's the difference between organic and inorganic? It wasn't that. But I have so much credibility, I have so much integrity rather for the industry that I wanted to be prepared for these callers, For
sure.
But so no, absolutely. That's an advanced conversation. And I love that you brought it up, because who's ever listening that agrees with me needs to sort of learn more.
Yeah, needs
about
to learn.
That. Yeah.
For sure.
Including me.
Well, it just empowers the artists. The more artists know and understand about pigments, about skin, about the better artists they're going to become, the better choices they're going to make.
Right.
Their healed results become much more predictable. The long-term aging results become much more stable.
It's so
for the
empowering.
client.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and all this is stuff.
There's nothing that you can't do, even if it's to say no to a client. Because there may be that 1% of your client you can't, help, because in my opinion, we can't help everyone. That's my opinion. You may disagree you probably will disagree with me that we can't help everyone.
No, I don't disagree. I think it's rare.
It's rare. I think it's rare.
I think mostly we can, at least it makes somewhat of a difference. I have certainly taken on cases where, no, I couldn't get that brow was so badly done. There's scar tissue, badly done.
Right.
But I will tell the client, I can make it 60% better. It will be a 60% improvement. That's all I can probably do. If it's better than 60%, hallelujah.
Yeah, right.
And
they're probably, whatever you can do.
Would you be okay? If I got it only 50 or 60% better, would you be okay with that? That percentage of improvement, would that make you happy? And most of them will say yes, anything, any kind of improvement.
Right.
But then artists worry about putting their name on that.
Right.
And I understand that. And I've had those concerns for my own self over the years. And and there's been times that I have turned away clients because I didn't feel I could make even maybe a 25% different Rose. Yeah. It was too far gone.
The glass was overflowing.
Yeah. And I've got lots of tools in my back pocket,
Yeah.
and I have a lot of confidence fixing bad work. I've been doing it my entire career.
Yeah.
But there have been cases that I've turned away, and it breaks your heart to turn it away. And I do give it a lot of thought. I'm not quick to turn someone away.
Yeah.
I have to give it a lot of thought. I have to really study it, and I have to really think about it.
Late now that I'm older in my career, I say I don't accept as much work as I do. Like that case, in the past,
stressful.
You know what? It's so stressful.
It's so stressful.
And then there's a healing process, and let's not forget about the integrity of the skin that's been compromised now, and how is that going to affect future implants?
Yeah. And you might have to see this client often,
a few times,
times just to get it, back on the right path. And so you have to make sure that this client fully understands that this client's
there's like 4-week healing in between.
The client's patient. Sometimes clients lose patience. They can promise you this that and the other,
Right.
and agree to a lot of things up front. And then as the process gets going, if things aren't going as you planned, then clients can lose patience. They can start making, impossible demands. And so you have to think about all that stuff. And back to client forms, addendums,
Yes.
everything in writing,
Right.
pictures,
Right.
and all that stuff.
I have to give credit to Mary Richardson, because years ago, when I took her class, it was like game changing for me. But she was very giving, and she's one of these goats as well, like you, that is very giving and sharing. And she shared the paperwork with all of us. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is how paperwork should be? My paperwork was nothing. So my paperwork has evolved so much since then. But she was the one, I have to give her credit, that sort of put a spotlight on the importance of thorough paperwork. I mean, I have literally like 24 medical questions that I ask my client, like things that are weird, like do you have city water or well water? Like those are one of the questions I ask. Because if they have well water, like what if there's bacteria in there? I want you to wash at least for a week with bottled water. Like weird questions that someone off the street would think are weird, but to me are important.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things you need to understand.
You really need to understand and consider. Yeah, Mary has like a ton of addendums. She's the addendum queen.
Yeah,
she really is.
Yeah, and one of the things that we were talking about earlier, getting back to when we were talking about medications, I didn't want to not bring this up in case someone is listening, is medications. So if we talked earlier about having a good relationship with doctors in our area. If we suspect, gosh, there's a condition, something that's going on, I'd rather not work on you until you see your dermatologist.
Right.
And they come back and they say, oh, the dermatologist says I have this or that, whatever it is. And we need to know what medications are on as well, because if it's any of the tetracycline medications, which are really common, like doxycycline or monocycline, which these are really common, acne medications. It's like oil and water for PMU.
I think it's the doxy too. That's really
doxycycline I think is worse.
Way worse.
Yeah, it'll definitely compromise the integrity of the pigment.
I was just having a conversation, a back and forth conversation, text with Emily Joy about doxycycline and how what'd she call it? She called it some kind of drug. It's the devil. but she's had,
Emily's my girl.
Yeah. So, you have to ask for a list of medications, and there's just a lot to consider.
Yeah.
I wonder if the PMU artist ever sits back and really thinks about the responsibility that we have taken on. When we decide to tattoo,
if you do it in a long time,
a pair of eyebrows,
for sure, absolutely,
the
it's
responsibility,
a lot. So much.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot that we take on.
Right,
There's a lot. What a craft. What a craft. What a profession to choose. And there's just so much to learn. So much to learn for the artist to learn.
So I think you
never stop.
No, we never. Again, I think Socrates would say it before every lecture. I think it was Socrates. I only know that I know nothing, and I think that's the attitude. That's the attitude I walk around with every day. We never stop. I personally learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And I think we owe it to the client for us to be as educated as possible on every single layer on pigments and undertones and overtones and skin and everything that we've talked about today and more.
That's why I like a good debate in PMU. I get really uncomfortable when it turns ugly and people get snatchy and try to and get disgraceful. With their opinions or the way they put it out, sometimes very angrily and very
100%.
But when there's a really good, respectful debate going on on the boards about a particular topic, and it stays respectful, I love a good debate, because you learn so much with a good debate. I mean, that's why in high school there was a debate team. That's why there's debates. That's why there is debates, because it allows you to understand the other person's opinions, why they feel that way. They bring a lot to the plate. You learn. It opens up. I've probably learned more in debates, debating with somebody, than anything else, than drinking the Kool-Aid.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Can I tell you a debate that I had the other day that it was like a lot of people were like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Because I think of these weird things, but Texas De La Rosa, love him. He was like, Rose, please join, I have a Facebook group, join my Facebook group. So someone had posted a picture of a client with like a shadow on her upper lip, and she's like, they wanted to do PMU lip on the client, and all these people were like, no, yeah, do it. You know, the person in question that was asking the question was concerned that darkening, which is hyperpigmentation or melasma, people, oh, that's melasma, and immediately giving them a solution. Have them do this. Oh, that's melasma. Have them do that. Oh, I'm like, wait, time out. I wrote like this dissertation about 1 second. First, let's learn about their lifestyle. Why do they have that shadowing? It may not be melasma.
Right.
It is a form of hyperpigmentation, but it could just be good old hyperpigmentation based on their lifestyle. So for example, this is a question I ask my clients when I see that. Do you drink a morning smoothie? Because in the Prieto house, every day we have our NutriBullet, we make our morning smoothies. If so, do you put anything with an acidic component in it? Lemon, pineapple, because I know I do. Do you drink out of a straw or do you drink out of the rim? Because if you drink out of the rim and you give yourself that milk mustache and you clean your mouth with a napkin like everybody does, and then you walk out the door, your skin is compromised to the UV rays, because even if you live in Alaska and unless it's dark and you live in a cave,
right,
you're getting exposed to UV radiation. And we walk the dog. We're going to the mailbox. We're driving in our car because glass does not filter UVA rays. We're constantly getting peppered with UVA rays throughout the day. And so something as seemingly insignificant as drinking a smoothie, your morning smoothie or your green juice out of a glass can cause that upper lip pigmentation. Does the client use lip plumpers? Do they use Carmex? I've been addicted to Carmex in 7th grade, and so are you applying it haphazardly above the vermilion? All of these things need to be taken into account in terms of asking probing questions about their lifestyle, because if we find that's why you have hyperpigmentation, now let's talk about it. Okay, drink out of a straw. That may be the solution. Or before you leave the house, wash your face, cleanse that area, and then reapply a broad spectrum sunscreen. Mm-hmm. And so these are the things that we need to address first before we talk about tattooing.
Yeah,
and then,
you can do her. Go ahead.
And then, you could do her.
Right.
And then tell the client, gosh, if it doesn't go away, then, are you still okay with getting your lip tattooed? Because it's going to enhance your lip, which will look kind of funky. It may look awkward. Like, are you okay with that, having that mustache? But, it's about the probing questions that we need to know, how to ask. And a lot of artists don't think like that.
No, a lot of don't. So yeah, good point.
Yeah. Because I personally see that a lot. Is that
upper
we're in
lip. Vegas, so we're high sun.
You are, yeah.
It's
and I have a lot, a lot of ethnic, melanin rich clientele, and I myself am, ethnic, and so
we see a lot of that here because we do a lot of golfers,
100%
tennis people.
Oh gosh,
I do have quite a few people that drive FedEx. A lot of women that drive FedEx and UPS and whatnot.
They don't even have a door on their car.
No, and I can always tell
their left side.
And that eyebrow always fades faster.
Yes, yeah.
Or it ashes out a little bit versus the the right eyebrow. You can see the sun damage on that side of the face.
Yep.
It's just really, but I'm a Virgo. I'm really super observant, so I just notice all these things. But not everybody does.
I was born in Virgo, but I identify as Libra. My daughter rolls her eyes when I say that because technically I'm a Libra, but I once got my fortune read and I was born in Virgo. So you and I are the same. I'm so type A.
Yeah.
But I think a PMU brow's best friend is a broad spectrum sunscreen.
Yeah, for sure.
And the problem is a lot of clients don't want to put that pasty white titanium. It actually makes the brows look gray sometimes.
Yeah.
So just an over the counter like banana boat.
Well, they've gotten really good.
They've gotten
sun
good ones
now.
You want some that are clear. I like using lip balms. I tell my clients just to get a clear colorless lip balm.
Yeah.
That's broad spectrum, which means that it protects the skin from UVA and UVB rays.
For sure.
And you know what I get from clients all the time is, oh gosh, I don't go to the beach. I don't go to the pool. Yeah, but you walked outside. You came here. You parked in the parking lot to come to my office, right? Mm-hmm. You got your mail this morning. Again, it's perpetual. Sun damage is perpetual.
Yeah, or just gardening, spending time in your backyard. And
that's 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. 1 minute adds up over time is going to damage that skin.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think some clients think that, no, I don't lay in the sun.
It's quote unquote going to the beach or laying out like we used to in the 80s.
They don't intentionally tan. They don't lay out.
Yeah.
But they're still getting
a
lot of sun on the
100%,
face.
100%. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially in Florida, Arizona, Vegas.
Yeah.
Where it's
really sun soaked.
Really
sun heavy.
Yeah.
But like I said, anywhere there's light, unless you live in a cave. But that's why, again, circling back to the skin, it's really important to understand.
Yeah. And I think in Vegas, on top of, the sun, we also do a dry skin. because we're a really dry climate, right?
Right.
Our humidity levels are usually 10% or less.
Yes.
So we deal with a lot of
My
dry
skin, my skin can attest to that right now.
you know. And in Florida, you deal with
I could
high
drink. I could drink
humidity.
the air. If I'm thirsty, I open my mouth. Right.
So I think that makes it a difference too. Like what state you live in, like Washington.
100%.
Right, a lot of overcast, not a lot of sun.
Yeah, I was talking about this yesterday with some of your apprentices. You have to consider too the climate that the client lives
For sure,
in.
that affects our
healing
results.
and
It affects
aftercare
the
and
long term,
everything. Yeah,
and how we're viewing.
right. It's not just about the skin; it's about the climate as well.
For
There's
sure.
so many layers.
Yeah, for sure. And like even like Darlene, you know, and Mattia, they're the chemists at LI. I mean, they talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
That's why when we test pigments, we test them in different states, different climates, in different parts of the world.
They do not.
Yes, they do.
That can I just say right now? I'm not kidding. I swear on my family. I don't want to say it, my puppy's life. I have goosebumps right now because that right there is game changing.
Yeah,
the
Darlene,
fact that they freaking do that is amazing.
And they understand that. They understand pigments perform differently in different climates,
because
different states, different parts of the world. They
Yes.
absolutely understand it.
Right.
They've known it for years and years and years and years and years. And a lot of people don't even consider that. Even pigment manufacturers don't even consider that.
It's such a
but
thing. Yeah.
Our scalp pigments, those were in testing for 5.5 years before they felt comfortable with the formula and putting them on the market. We were testing them in like 5 different regions in the United States by Scalp Tattoo-Us. They were tested in different parts of the world. Like Darlene hand selected the different parts of the world for them to be tested in. Because of climate and where you live in the world, we're near the equator and, you know, things like this. She's so scientific that way. Sometimes a lot of the things I have to say, okay, can you dumb that down for me? You know? But yeah, and the reason she was so like ferocious and so with the scalp pigments, we do that with eyebrow pigments and lips, but we'll do testing for 2, maybe 3 years for eyebrows for that scalp line. She was so ferocious and so, with that testing because it was on
the head.
The head,
right? And what's the most vulnerable part of the body?
The head.
Is the head in terms of sun exposure, UV exposure.
Yeah, and it's really different skin.
Right.
Super close to the vascular system. Right. Super thin skin.
Yes.
It's very, very different skin. A very different area of the body.
Right.
The sun hits it directly. So I think, that's why our scalp pigments are so good. And that's why we have both an organic and an inorganic version of the scalp pigments, because even there's a time to use one versus the other. For sure. That can be the best.
This is like literally gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I love that.
It's sometimes it's frustrating and it can be stressful having pigments, out in testing for that long. Yeah. It can be a long process, and sometimes can be, because you go through trial and error, testing pigments. But when the testing's done and you've come to your conclusion, when you're releasing them, you're releasing pigments you are 100% confident in. Do you know what I mean?
I was recently attending a conference where my tia was one of the speakers, and I was so excited to speak with her. I was like rock star, and there was a hurricane that hit, and they switched the conference online. But I was like, that was really, I have to say, like one of the big disappointment of the conference is I didn't get to see her in person and have a conversation.
She's like a super. That's Darlene's daughter.
Yeah,
and
she's the chemist. Yeah,
she's the chemist, and not only that, she's got her master's, a double major.
Oh, she's so knowledgeable.
She's got her master's in chemistry and also in she's got her master's in biology.
Yeah,
so
I knew that.
She understands biology, the skin. The body and pigments.
Yeah.
So, and that's where we implant our pigments. Exactly. So she's rather unique. When it comes to
and it is so valuable because it gives me such peace of mind knowing that they have so much integrity, so much science behind it, so much knowledge and education. And this is ultimately is what we, the artists, use to, like you said, implant skin in the dermis.
Well, they're the reasons I didn't grow up biased towards either iron oxides or organics.
Yeah.
I maybe my first 3 years, I first few years, as a baby in the industry, maybe I was biased. You tend to use what your trainer tells you to use.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know. But once I started using LI and became involved with them, they've been wonderful mentors, and I started really learning and understanding iron oxides versus organics, combining them when needed, using them alone when needed, for different formulations. And really understanding the science behind each one. And LI has never, ever, ever, ever in 30 years been biased towards one or the other. They have incorporated both inorganics and organics in all their formulations, their different lines, whether it's eyebrows, scalp, lips, eyeliner, aerial, all that stuff.
Right.
So it's been really, so I think I'm really super blessed not to have that bias, right? I really understand the value of both, and I incorporate both into my own work, and able to educate others on the value of both.
So to me, you're like the ultimate encyclopedia about pigments and organics, inorganics, and you learn from them as well. Yeah, so this is great.
For sure. Wow. Well, there's a lot of biasisms.
Yeah,
100%. Is that a word? Biasisms.
It could be. I like that word. Let's make it a word.
Olivia, is that a word?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? When we play Scrabble, I got to look up words all the time. I come up with my word. Because we play Scrabble, and I'm like, I think that's a word. Biasisms.
I know. I do that every day at Wordle. I play Wordle.
It's probably biases.
What is that? Biases.
How do you say
biases.
That? Biases.
There's a lot of biases. Biases. I don't know.
A lot of bias.
Let's look
maybe
that
it's
up.
Just
no, it
bias.
is. You know what? It is just bias.
There's a lot of bias.
Yeah, but I like biasisms. I like that.
A lot of biasisms.
Yeah.
Well, there's sexism. There's ageism. There's
Terranisms. Little words of wisdom. We could do terranisms.
Yeah. Biasisms.
What is it? Carbon has feet.
And it will run.
It will run.
Yeah, that was funny. We were just at the AAM conference, and I had flat Terran out.
Yeah.
And I think I
got to take a picture with Flat Terran.
Flat Terran, yeah. We popped her face out. And so Victoria Glam got behind her. And she was me for 30 seconds. And that's what she said. Yeah. Carbon has feet and it will run. It was super funny.
Oh, I love Victoria.
Like, wow. Okay. That's what I'm going to be known for
well,
when
listen,
I die. When I'm gone.
But listen, that's not a bad thing to be known for. That's important because it will run.
It will run. So how long have we been going, Olivia?
An hour and 6 minutes.
Okay, so it's time to wrap this up. Is there anything else?
Oh gosh, I could talk for another hour. Are you kidding? There's so much more, but
Well, we had other things on our list, but what a great conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when you have passion for something, and obviously anyone listening right now has passion, or else we wouldn't be listening, right? So there's so much to learn, and
so much to learn, and for sure, me included, I'm always learning. And I have a real desire to learn.
Yeah.
I've never lost that desire
to
learn. I think some people lose the desire to learn.
Yeah. Like you said earlier, we don't know what we don't know,
Yeah, exactly. So. But I think that's my mission my last few years here in PMU. I always say that, I'm on my last act probably in PMU. I've been doing it almost 23 years this September. Yeah. I mean, I have no plan to retire in the next few years. I mean, I'll be doing this a long time. But when you sit and you really think about it, I'm probably in my, my last few years.
Yeah.
And you become more conscientious of how you want to spend your last few years.
I know I have been, absolutely.
Just not in the industry, but in your life.
Right.
I think when you start to get to a certain age, you kind of evaluate what's important in life. How do I want to spend? You value your friends more. You want more time with your friends, more time with your family. Things like that. Those become more important. And I think about that for the industry too, my role in the industry. And I think it's just the message of get out of your fucking box. If you're just using one needle, one technique, one type of, get out of your box. Stay curious.
100%.
Keep exploring. Keep experimenting.
Right.
Keep learning. And
if you can't find the key to that box, just break out of that box.
Break out of the box.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's fear that keeps artists in
It's
in
always
the box.
fear, and I get that.
Yeah.
You have to do something that scares you, or else you won't grow.
Exactly. So
I think Eleanor Roosevelt said something like that.
Yeah.
And that is so true. So never stop learning.
No, absolutely. So I think that's a good note to end on. Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Right. And all All right. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we're going to do a bunch of tutorials now
Yeah.
for your new course.
That'll be exciting.
So we'll let everybody know when your course launches.
To
We'll put it-
continue educating and empowering the artist.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for this Tatter-a-fact. Thank you, Rose, for joining us. And remember, stay in the pursuit of happiness, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Ciao for now.